Why do I love this car? It's just fun. Hey, my name's Chris Hull. I'm the owner of this 68 Firebird, and I moved to the US in 2003 from England, and I actually bought this car in England back in 1995 as a rusty basket case, no motor, no trans, and restored it back in the UK. And when I moved here in 2003, after meeting my wife the year before that, we decided to bring the car over. So it took me 7 years to restore it back there, and I thought, I'm not selling it, it's coming with me. So for me, it had to be a 68 Firebird. Growing up in England, my folks had Pontiacs and grew up in a 78 Gold Edition Trans Am and would go to car shows every summer, and wouldn't often see first gens, very rare. A lot of second gens. Smokey and the Bandit was huge, so a lot of those kind of era cars. And but you know, we got the books and stuff, you know, it was birthdays, Christmas, what have you, and there was always, at the beginning, I always loved the look of these first gen cars, and you know, kind of decided when I was getting near driving age, you know, I want one of those. And friends of mine put me onto this one that was for sale, had no motor, no trans, and it was like, it was rough. Shit, I don't care, I want it. So yeah, once I got this car, and it still had the old UK license plate hanging off the front of it, you know, no motor, no trans, and I got some paperwork with it, and there was, like on a piece of cardboard, a magazine article from Street Machine magazine in 1980, and it had a picture of the car. It was like a double feature with a Pinto, I think it was, but it was a drag car called Firebird, and it was black, had a 350 Chevy in it, still had the 3-speed manual, which I believe was what was original equipment to the car, and ran mid-12s at about 110, which was pretty hot for back in 1980. So currently the car has a Pontiac 400 in it, and that's been in it since 2005, when I went through the whole, hey man, when you get an LS swap that thing, and got it all the time. And I just put this thing together, ported heads, solid roller cam. It's probably making about 500 at the flywheel, so I got a little money invested in that 400. I was like, I'm not about to pull this in favor of an LS, and it's kind of come full circle now. Everyone's like, oh cool, you still have a Pontiac in it, and it's probably going to stay that way. You know, growing up in Pontiacs, I kind of feel a little bit, you know, patriotic to my Pontiacs. Got to keep them in there, and it's kind of cool to have a Pontiac in it. So it has a Tremec TKO 600 5-speed sitting behind a center force dual friction clutch behind that, and it's a 10-bolt rear end with Ford 9-inch big axle bearings that the Arizona differential put on there for me, and that really helped with like pad knock back and the other issues associated with C-clip rears. And Ride Tech suspension. It's a single adjustable coilover, 4-link in the rear, true turn in the front with their toll spindle and the Gold Strand mod, and it works pretty damn good. We got an 18 by 12 in the rear, which they were Apex EC7 wheels that were only 10-inch wide, and I sent the rears off to have them widened. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the name of the company now. They're in Detroit, like Wheelworks or someone like that, and they put 2 inches in the back, on the back side, and got a 315 3018 in the rear, 18 by 9.5 in the front, with a 285 3018, and these are a BMW wheel, so they were 4 on 120 millimeter bolt pattern, which is about 0.65 of a millimeter less than what GM's 4 3/4 is. So I found an article surfing the internet, thirdgen.org, where a guy put them on an axle in a bench vise with a hub-centric ring and took it was a 60-degree valve seat cutter, and just remachined each of the lug nut seats using like a drill bit guide, because I guess the valve seat cutter slid over that, so it's perfect. I did the same thing, and they don't loosen up, and they seat all the way around, not just on the inside, so they don't stress the lug nut. So I kept an eye on them when I first started autocrossing it with these wheels, and they didn't loosen up and shit. I've kind of got to trust them now. So that worked out pretty well because I couldn't find a mesh wheel that I liked that was in my price range. And the BMW wheels, I guess the BMW guys get a kick out of it seeing it on a on an old Firebird, but it works. They're fairly lightweight, rotary forged, I believe, and they were designed for cars about this weight. You know, some of the big BMW sedans that are, you know, good 3,500 pounds, and this is 3,380, I think, about 35 with me in it, and they work pretty well for the price I've got it and for the money invested. Behind the wheels, I've got a bitchin' set of Bear brakes that I finally upgraded after probably 20 years. I bought Bear brakes back in '96 when they were like a 12-inch SS drag, the PBR setup, and they work pretty darn good. And I had them on the car for a long time, and Rick was giving me some hassle. Hey, we need to upgrade those brakes. And a few years of that, and it was like, all right, I'm ready. Just sold the house, got some cash. So we put some 14-inch 6 pistons in the front, 13-inch 4 piston in the rear, and oh my God, what a difference. Man, this thing will, it stands on the front bumper and it will stop. And they're manual, and it's consistent pedal every time because that motor doesn't make a lot of vacuum. And yeah, it's way, way better than those Corvette brakes were. So the car has a RideTech coilover suspension on it. It's their 4-link in the rear, and there's single adjustable coilovers. There's strong arms in the front with the True Turn system, which has their toll spindle and their bump steer correcting steering arms, and it works really well for a bolt-on system that's really easy to install in your garage. Really happy with it. With a sticky tire, the difference before that over just like a spring sway bar package I had on the car was huge. Handling is it's going to take the driver a while to catch up before I exceed the limits of that suspension. I think it's great bang for buck, and I'm real happy with it. Ride quality is great too. So the interior of the car is, a lot of it's the original stuff that was in the car when I bought it, which I believe to be original to the car, like the dash pad, door panels, rear quarters, inner rear quarters. So it's had new carpet, and the front seats are Brom Racing. Kind of was just surfing the web again, came across these guys, and price wasn't bad. It was around Thanksgiving, they had a special. I'm like, well, hopefully they got good lumbar, because I like a seat with good lumbar support, and ordered them up, and they were nice and lightweight, pretty supportive, decent lumbar, pretty happy with them for the price, and have just recently installed their 5-point harnesses. My friend Eric and I built up a harness bar for it, and that made a huge difference. Autocrossing with a lap belt was a little bit hanging off the steering wheel, and I was like, yeah. Everyone was like, oh, you've only got lap belts in here? That's a little scary. It's all right, I'm used to it, but yeah. Man, night and day. With the harnesses, yeah, way better. I can really feel what the car's doing and feel like I'm part of the car. And price is pretty decent, pretty happy with them. So the car has a 5th gen center console in it. Until recently it had the original console in it, but I'm getting older, needed cup holders and a place to put my stuff. So this had, I see it done online, and managed to find one in the local junkyard for about 30 bucks. And molded the, it was a factory console auto meter gauge cluster for my little 2 5/8 gauges, and molded that in, little Bondo, sprayed it silver, dropped that in. It works pretty good, and it kind of matches the steering wheel, the old cheap AutoZone steering wheel I have in there that's been in there forever. So this car was painted about 20 years ago by my friends Martin Rubin and Nick the Painter back in England, and picking the color was not easy. They handed me a big thing of paint chips, and this isn't going to help. I kind of like the Verdoro green as a factory color. This car I think was originally Alpine blue, but when I bought it, it had about 10 layers of paint on it, red, black, red, black, red, black, and I think we scraped that off with like chisels. It was so thick. And there was a pair of Jag fenders hanging above the car, because it was at my friend's shop for about 4 years, and they were this nice gray color, and went through the paint chips. I'm like, oh, this isn't helping. And they were a nice gray. Turns out they were Jaguar gunmetal gray, and that's what I ended up going with. And I'm still real happy with the color. And for a 20-year-old paint job, it's holding up pretty well. With the help of Griot's Garage. Those guys have been great. Got to park on their booth once at Good Guys, and they've been pretty good in hooking me up and showing me what I need to keep this thing looking good. And I don't think I want to change the color. I'm still happy with it. So future plans for the car, other than putting some better gauges in it, I still have the stock gauges in the dash for fuel, temp, speed, and they're a little hard to read. The Dakota Digital makes some real nice stuff for these early cars that I guess drops right in. And so I'd like to upgrade the gauges. And I think the engine probably could use a freshen up, maybe rings and bearings. Then you're like, well, you know, should I put a stroke of crank in it, seeing as it's out? So that may happen. But other than that, put tires on it and seat time, drive it. It's mostly where I want it. And there's other projects that need attention, as there always are.